Good afternoon, everyone. 4 o'clock straight up on a Friday edition of On Cue, coming at you right here, Rich Quinones. And as always, appreciate you guys keeping us locked in. We are live on the YouTube channel, on X as well. We always encourage guys to get social with us, and it's very easy to do at Rich Q on Q on X. IG, Rich Q on the mic on TikTok, and subscribe to the YouTube channel on this Friday, October 10th, 2025. And let me just start by saying, Philadelphia sports fans, how was your Thursday night? How was your Thursday night, Philadelphia sports fans? You had the Phillies in action postseason against the Dodgers. You had the Eagles against the Giants. You had the Flyers against the Panthers. You were sitting there. You were waiting. You were ready. You wanted to call the spotfecta. You wanted to call the trifecta. You wanted to go 3-0. You guys were waiting, and you just sat there. I knew it. I felt it. I knew I was going to have to come on today, and I was going to have to listen to the Phillies extending that series against the Dodgers. The Eagles turn around and win it 34-6 against my poor little blue Giants. The friggin' Flyers getting a win on the ice, orange and black dropping the puck, and here we go. 0-for-3 Philadelphia. 0-for-3 Philadelphia. Oh my goodness. Where do we begin? Where do we begin on this Friday show? I mean, you just cannot make this up. One of the worst, brutal losses you will ever see in a baseball game. Ever seen a baseball game occurred last night for the Philadelphia Phillies. You cannot make this up. That was an absolute, you watch enough sports, and you follow teams, and you have just love for teams, right? Because at the end of the day, it's all about being fans. It's all about being fans. And that's when everyone says, you got to be fanatical. You got to be fanatical because that's what a fan is. And you invest and you have all this emotion wrapped in to the game. And you're thinking to yourself, Philly's got to win. Go on the road, stretch the series, come back home for game 5 in a game last night where the pitching, again, was absolutely brilliant on both ends. On both ends, the pitching was brilliant last night between the Dodgers and the Philadelphia Phillies. Period. You can't debate it. I mean, it was just fun to watch, right? Fun to watch if you're in there and you're entrenched and you're watching it. So the game goes into extras. And you think, again, if you're a Phillies fan, you're going to come out of this. You're going to figure out a way. Because, listen, the Dodgers aren't hitting well. The Dodgers aren't hitting good. Ohtani's been a non-factor in this series. All you need is something. Can you get something from Schwarber? Can you get something from Turner? Can you get something from Harper? Can you get something from Marsh? Can you get something from Bader or Real Muto? Somebody step up. Bats go south once again in October. Now you go to the home half of the 11th, and just the debacle of a play, man. The debacle of a play with Kettering on the mound. And listen, you get a bases loaded, you get the ball coming off the bat a certain way, kind of a quirky way, and you just know with 2 outs, right? Kerkering has to turn around and just have the wherewithal to just go to first base on that little dribbler. Go to first base. And unfortunately, the kid panicked. That's exactly what happened last night. The kid panicked in the biggest spot of his baseball career He panicked and he airmailed one. And the Dodgers score the winning run. And don't give me the crap about never touching home plate. He went back, he touched home plate. There you go, 2-1 in extras. They win the divisional series, the NL divisional series, 3-1. They advance to the NLCS. That is, you saw Romuto kind of point to first with the broken bat, right? So you get two hoppers, boom, it's hit off Kirk Green's glove, rolls just in front of the mound. Here we go, picks it up, one motion, kind of sidearm. You're 45 feet from the plate. You have to know better. You had plenty of time to go to first, and this kid just froze up. The moment was too big. And that happens sometimes in sports. And that is a horrible, horrible way to lose not even a regular season game, but a postseason game, a playoff game, a series clinching game, an opportunity to advance to the NLCS. And that play will go down as one of the most boneheaded, unfortunate, just, gut wrenching, disheartening plays in Philadelphia sports history. And there's a long list of them. A long list of them. But again, let's be fair. Let's be transparent. Yes, they lost because of that, but that's not why they lost the series. The Philadelphia Phillies lost this series because once again, their 900 and something odd $1 million payroll couldn't hit. Period. They just could not get on base. They could not get on base consistently. When you needed them to put runners on, to move guys across, to scratch and claw and bring in runs, they could not do it. That's why they lost this series. That's why this core needs to be broken up. That's why you heard some of the players say exactly what they said last night, because they know a golden opportunity was missed. But again, we can just sit there and say, well, kid's got to make the right play. Hey, man, the Dodgers won a series 3-1 in which their offense hit a $199, had a 557 OPS, posted a 58, right? 5 for 29 with runners in scoring position, and they left 31 on base, and they won the series. They won the series. The Phillies have shown you time and time again who they are in October. It's not even up for debate. It's a fact. It is a fact. They can't hit. They cannot hit when October rolls around. You can sit there and talk about all the, regular season, the stats, the accolades, whatever. This player's in the MVP race, should win the MVP. Here you go. Batting title, driving in runs. It does not matter. From April to September, yeah, they score a lot of runs, and then they do absolutely nothing in October. So yes, you look at the play from Kirk Green and you say, oh my God, a wild throw home. I can't believe this. This is how it's going to end. Brutal. I mean, just absolutely brutal. But the bottom line is they can't hit. They never, ever hit in the clutch. That's why they lost the series. And that was a great pitching matchup. Glasnow allowed 2 hits and 3 walks in 6 innings, with 8 of the 12 strikeouts by Dodgers pitchers. You're watching Sanchez. Yeah, so what? You get squeezed once in a while. That kid pitched his guts out. And if you guys want to sit there and debate today why in the world Thompson decided to walk Ohtani, that's fine, because he was pushing all the right buttons the other game. You got exactly what you needed from your starter. That kid goes out there and gives you 6 1/3 a friggin' 1-hit ball. I'm sorry, 5-hit ball, 1 run. Gave up 1 run, struck out 5. The offense has to do the rest. Turner, 0 for 5. Schwarber, I think, what was he? 1 for 5. Harper, 0 for 4. I mean, can we start having a conversation about Bryce Harper? Can we? I mean, come on. It's just a brutal loss. Absolutely just brutal, brutal, brutal loss. I mean, you had a horrible night if you were a Phillies fan. But it got a little worse. It got a little worse. how the Philadelphia Eagles go up the turnpike, 7.5 point favorites, the defending Super Bowl champs, and they proceed to get absolutely friggin' dog walked by my New York Football Giants. That they got dog walked last night. I mean, the Philadelphia Eagles. You want to talk about bad losses? You want to talk about trying to find the pulse, the heartbeat, the friggin' heart of this team? What a bunch of dogs the Philadelphia Eagles are, right? I mean, they think they were just going to waltz in MetLife with that line and that offense and all this other nonsense. And here we go. And the Giants dominated them. I mean, I went back, I had to watch the whole game today. Because you guys know, you get the overnight broadcast, overseas stuff. I got to turn around, I got to watch. I had no idea what the hell was going on. Half asleep, waking up to see the final score, doing what I needed to do, calling games, then getting a couple of hours of shut-eye, watching the game again, and then final 34-17. 34-17. Jackson Dart running all over the place. Scataboo, the scat man, running all over the place. 34 points. The Giants could have put up 50 last night against the friggin' Philadelphia Eagles. I mean, how about this? How about this? A team that lost to the Saints, that never wins on prime time, that never wins on Thursday night, that never ever beats the Philadelphia Eagles, that never wins in the division, that never wins at home. What did the Giants do? They just subsequently go out and put up 34 points, and they clocked the Philadelphia Eagles 34-17. And I know today for a fact, even though it's a friggin' Friday and it's not a Monday, here we go. I can tell you this right now. The Bunker Boys, they're not even storming any type of beach for a while. And I got Joe D, I got Tom, I got Matty Ice, I got Monday Marcus. I don't even want to hear from you guys today because I know you're not going to come out of the woodwork because you got no friggin' stones, you got no balls. Jalen Hurts did not play well last night. He's not reading the field. Saquon Barkley, I don't know what the hell's going on with Saquon Barkley and that offensive line. And A.J. Brown we'll get into in a moment. But I told you guys this 2-3 weeks ago. There's an issue with the Philadelphia Eagles offense. And all I heard was, Q, you don't know what the hell you're talking about. Read the room. You don't know what you're talking about. They're going to be fine. They've got weapons. They got tight ends. They got wide receivers. They got Brown. They got Smith. They got Goddard. They got Saquon. They got Jalen Hurts. There's an issue with this team. And you can debate if this is more about the Giants or more about the Eagles. I don't give a shit because the Giants thumped them. And as a Giant fan, it actually gave me something to smile about. And I'm going to tell you why. Because the Giants have young players. They've got young dogs, not only on this defense, but the offense. This kid Scataboo is a nut job. How do you not love this kid? How do you not love this kid? Jackson Dart scrambling, making plays, juking out all pro linebackers. I mean, the kid's got the it factor. He's got the look. He plays the part. He speaks the part. He acts the part. I wish he wouldn't take a lot of these hits. But the Giants last night, they gave the Giant fan something we haven't seen in 10 to 15 years. I mean, they look like a complete, competent football team that put up 34 points against the defending Super Bowl champs. I mean, who the hell are these guys? 34 points, they could have put up 45. You're causing turnovers, you're sacking a quarterback, you almost got a pick six. That is a great win for the Giants. And I will say this. I'm going to enjoy it. I'm watching that game again. I'm going to enjoy it. I'm going to enjoy it because this defense, again, is young and they're hungry. And you've got offensive playmakers. And listen, I know we can sit there and say quarterbacks take hits in the NFL, but this kid's talented, man. This kid, he's got the it factor. And I'm not going to sit here and tell you this team's going to win a lot of games. That's not where I'm going with this. But last night, 7.5-point dogs and a house of horrors against a team that has basically been their kryptonite for the last 15 plus years. Thursday night football, you haven't won in 10 tries in 10 years. You got Mara dealing with the cancer thing in the booth. You got Shane in there, and they put together one of their best wins. I'm gonna take it a step further. Last night's win by the Giants was better than that playoff win on the road against Minnesota a couple years ago, because last night they basically put the Eagles on notice. They really did. They really did. They're not a playoff team. They'll win maybe a couple more games here and there, but they've got playmakers. And the other point I wanted to make, and we'll get to the Eagles in a second, I believe last night, I dropped a new episode of Back Your Play with Lloyd earlier today. That's out. We posted that on YouTube channel. Last night's win, I think, saved Brian Dable's job. I think it's safe because national spotlight, national TV, Amazon. You got Al Michaels calling the game with Kurt, right? You got 0-10 in your last 10 tries on Thursday night against a team coming off a loss in the Philadelphia Eagles, defending Super Bowl champ. Here you go, Saquon, all the documentary and all this other nonsense. Saquon coming out there pushing that crap. He didn't do dick, by the way, last night, mind you. That 18-yard run, first of all, one of the tackles was held on the play. Other than that, Saquon didn't do anything. He didn't do anything. So I don't want to hear any more about the, thanks for Saquon crap, or, you missed Daniel Jones. No, I'm fine with Scadaboo, and I'm fine with my quarterback Dart. But that win last night, I believe it saved Brian Daboll's job. I'm not the biggest Daboll fan. You guys know that. But 34 points against a team that has owned you, and then you couple that with the fact that the Phillies spit the bit, and then the Flyers lose to the Panthers. What a night. What an absolute night. I'm telling you. And, we need to start having a conversation about a couple things here today. What is going on with Jalen Hurts? That's number one. And two, baseball wise, Phillies fans, come talk to me. I'm going to try to talk you off the ledge. Now, you guys might think I'm going to push you off, but I'm not going to do that. I want to show a little bit of decorum, and I want to show a little bit of class. I figured, listen, man, I could have easily, I could have trolled so many people. I could have blown up phones. I got people on Facebook and DMing me on X, and they were like, let loose. And I said, you know what? That's not who I am. I'm not going to do that. I'm not going to do that today, because I actually know how bad it felt for those fans last night, because I've been it. I've been there, and I'm not asking for a little charity. I'm not asking for a little bit of couth. I'm not asking for that. And then, as all that was resonating with me, it started to just, I don't know, spill over. I said, come on the air today, Q, be magnanimous, be a gentleman, sympathize, empathize. Hard spot for the Phillies last night. The Giants were maybe due, and no one gives a shit about the Flyers in the NHL. But then I went back and I said, man, for years, I've just gotten hammered, trolled, just absolutely attacked, taken shrapnel. And that's when I decided, fuck that. Not today. Not today. No, today is not the day to be classy. Today is not today to have couth. Today is not the day to be respectful. No, it couldn't have happened to a nicer fan base. I am absolutely ecstatic. Not only did the Philadelphia Phillies choke and just basically sit there and just implode, and to make matters even worse for you guys and to make me even more happier, the fact that the cocky-ass Eagles fans, bunch of friggin' rats that you are, who were blowing up all my social media feeds over the last several years, where are you today? Where are you today? You bunch of little whack-a-mole peekaboos. I am so happy because I cannot stand the Eagles fan base. I cannot stand the Eagles. I am absolutely, you want to tell me that's my friggin' Super Bowl Tom? You want to tell me that's my Super Bowl Tom in Summers Point or a Jeff in Millville? Fine, I'll take it. I am enjoying this one. And yes, your failure, thank you very much, is making me happy. And that's all I really wanted to say because last night was a rough watch if you were a Philly sports fan. And as much as I want to be empathetic and sympathetic, I'm not going to do it because enough is enough. And the Bunker Boys, I will deal with you on my own time. That's why I got the backing of the corporation and the Q crew chiming in today. Let me hear what you guys have to say on this very busy Friday. Man says positive energy. That's all it is. Man, I got to give you a lot of credit because yesterday you were there was no woosah, but you said relax, puncher's chance, positive, positive. Steven Seagal movie, Mark for Death. I mean, think about that, right? And that's how I felt like. That's how I felt like. I mean, think about this. You're Steven Seagal. You're sitting there in Hard to Kill, and you're basically taking shrapnel. You're taking about 1,000 bullets. You're friggin' in the coma. You're growing your hair. You're growing a beard. Then all of a sudden you wake up. You're clean shaven. You got a tan, and then you're bagging Kelly LeBrock. I mean, that's that's a good day. That is a good day. I mean, I don't know how many people can do that. 1 minute, you're on life support, and then boom, we're back in the game. And Madman, I owe it to you. Scott chimes in. The G-Man Q, let's go. Yeah, that's a big win. Joey B says, Q, oh my effing God, our Giants did it. Wow. Yeah. Yeah. Now, it is only a regular season game in October, but I can see the red shoes sticking out of the windshield. Oh, yeah, it was that kind of night. I mean, how about Adoree Jackson last night? Scatterboot basically running him over. What a business decision. Oh, my God, I'm so hungover. Philly Broad Street, quiet as can be. It is. It is. It really is. I didn't see that one come and sign all Eagles fans. Bad. Bad. That is a brutal loss last night, and I'm going to tell you why that's a brutal loss. It was a little bit of foreshadowing of potentially what's going to come because I believe at this moment, this Eagles offense is broken. Now, again, quite frankly, I don't care if I see this 10 more times this year from the Philadelphia Eagles, right? But they've got issues. And you guys were telling me they don't have issues, and I told you they've got issues. They're starting to leak a little bit of oil in the worst places. Eagles lose, Phillies lose, Flyers lose. Yes. I had some people hit me up. Drew said last night was one of the worst losses I've ever endured as a Phillies fan, right? So I was thinking, okay, Lazinski back in the 70s, losing to, the pop fly in the sun against the Dodgers, Williams, Carter, the walk-off World Series, different story. But then I was like, what was really another painful loss? Ryan Howard keeping the bat on his shoulders, 2010 NLCS Game 6 against the Giants. That was a brutal loss. I feel bad for this kid. And let me say this. It's baseball. Worse things have happened. There have been some, listen, the ball went through Leon Durham's legs in 84. The ball went through Buckner's legs in 1986, right? Rivera gives up the sawed-off infield hit in the World Series in a Game 7 against Gonzalez in Arizona. Beltran kept a bat on his shoulders. Like, there have been bad losses. And it was just obvious the moment was just too big for the kid. Like, sometimes the light bright, it's so bright, it shines, and you're just caught in that moment and you freeze. You freeze. Listen, it's easy to say they choked in extras, but I'm not going to put all the blame on Kerkering. I'm not. And I know after post game, I think Batalico said, I basically saw this coming in August. I don't know. What are you saying? Like, is it a trend? Do we know that this guy turns around every time and, he can't field grounders? I don't know. Maybe that's the case. But last night, it was just one of those fluky plays that cost them the game and the series. But it's not all on him, is my point. As much as we joke and we prod, the bats were horrible. The offense was horrible. You can't defend the Phillies' lack of offense for as amount, the money that they're paying these guys. 900 and something odd million dollars. We're talking about the big five. They go out and they get Turner, and on paper they should be better, but they're not. They're not. So, like, that era last night, it goes beyond, and it pales in comparison to how bad they are offensively. How can you be that good, have that type of a lineup, and then and I understand in the playoffs, it's all about pitching. Pitching shuts down offenses, but you look at this payroll, you look at this team, and come on. And you can't do better than that. So it's not on that kid, is my point, but it is a bad. I mean, I don't know. I've lived through horrible losses before. I've lived through brutal losses. I mean, I can give you my top five anytime. They're horrible. And I think the issue right now is, can you keep going forward with this core? That's the issue. Are you going to go forward? Schwarber sounded like a guy that's gone. Real Muto mentioned him to go to first. Wasn't expecting the ball. No. You know who can hit in October? Scatterboo can. They call for taunting. That's another reason I really like Jackson Dart. He's a 22-year-old kid, and when they called Scatterboo for that BS taunting call, Jackson Dart basically pulled him over and said, "What the hell are you doing? What the hell are you doing?" Right? Dart took that first TD in the end zone and said, "This is beautiful." What is it, velvet? Of course. I mean, that was beautiful. Absolutely. Number 7 on the Eagles had nightmares. I mean, listen, kid played well, man. Oh, well, hold on a second. I can see why Saban benched Hurts for Tua. Hold on a second. Should we bookmark this? I got to hear from the corporation here. 4:32, 32 minutes in on a What the Frig Friday. De facto, who is a diehard Eagles fan, who I'm glad to see finally has friggin' cell phone reception in the mountains, comes out of the woodwork. I mean, like a mountain man. That's great. Mountain lion, mountain man. You're sitting there now. You are basically taking a shot at Hurts, the quarterback that won you a Super Bowl. Question: is this the happiest you've ever been with a wrong final score prediction? No. The happiest is when I went on the air on 1360 WNJC, and I said that the Eagles were going to trounce Tampa Bay, and we were talking about the weather and the cold, and that's the NFC Championship where Mitchell ran back the opening kickoff, and then obviously Blaine Bishop took the wrong angle on Joe Juravicius, who is still running, and then you had to pick 6 by Rondé Barber. Yeah, I went on the air that Monday. You would think it was Christmas for me. Yeah, that's unbelievable. De facto turning on Hurts, that is questionable. So now we're going to sit there and say Hurts needs to get benched or Hurts is not a good quarterback. He's not playing like a top 5 quarterback right now. He's just not. But there is a disconnect. And then you have A.J. Brown. Did you guys hear this? A.J. Brown basically talking about, I'm not really going to confirm there was any type of meeting. I just kind of walked to my car. They stopped me. We talked for a couple minutes. It's more than it really is. You got A.J. Brown saying that now. And Hurts, what was the play? Hurts missed who? Was it Smith? Wide open. I mean, that is a layup. That is a walk-in touchdown if Jalen Hurts hits him. Kevin C chimes in. Q, I am absolutely beyond ecstatic. I was spitting out my drink a couple moments ago. You just lambasting the Eagles and Phillies fans. Keep it going, Q. Loving the show and the energy. One of the biggest wins for the Giants, I would say, over the last 15 plus years. No doubt you finally slay the giant in the cocky Eagles and their friggin' jackass fan base. But I will say this. Dart has it. Period. I think he's going to be the franchise quarterback going forward. I'd love to see them get a couple more weapons. And how about this? The kid was thrown to nobodies last night. Kevin is ecstatic. Yeah, Dart, give him credit, man. He had role players that stepped up last night, and obviously Robinson made the nice play, the catch and run for the touchdown as well. Burns is the truth. Brian Burns playing like an all-pro. He is playing like an all-pro. Thibodeau turning the corner a little bit. Carter, unleash him. Perfect. And I'm loving it. I'm loving it. Dart will be injured soon if he doesn't stop trying to be a damn running back. Nah, he's going to be all right. There's nothing anyone can say that will pull me down today. Nope, not happening. Sure. Hurts should have been benched for McKee as soon as he missed Smith. What uh, is this? Where we're going? Is this where we're going today? Seriously, this is where we're going. This is a quarterback that led you to 2 Super Bowl appearances. This is a quarterback that outperformed Patrick Mahomes, who was Super Bowl MVP. And now, 5 games in, you're turning on him de facto? I can't. Joe D and Summers Point. Q, congratulations, but I'm so pissed off. This offensive coordinator needs to go. Tom in Summers Point, you can have your day, Q. Even a blind squirrel tries, finds a nut. Hey, I'm going to take it. I'm going to take it, and I'm going to enjoy it, right? Next segment, loyal listener, Locks. Spite Fecta came home last night. It was unbelievable. I mean, those picks were beyond out of spite because I got tired of hearing the crap. Like, I thought the Phillies actually would bring the series back to Philly. And I told you, I thought they had a hit and I thought they had to score runs early. And they weren't able to do that, obviously. The Flyers, we don't care about at this moment. But the Eagles, I thought the Eagles were going to go in there and beat them 34-10, 34-13. I didn't see that coming last night. I really didn't. You know, I watched the whole game today, focused and watched it all the way through. And the Giants offense kind of did whatever they wanted to do against the Eagles. And they were running the football down their throat. And that's demoralizing. My buddy texted me today because he knew that I was out of pocket last night with the broadcast. And we were talking about the game. He goes, I can't recall the last time the Giants actually are kneeling with a 17-point lead at home with like 2.5 to go. I mean, that's rare. Absolutely rare. I believe Eagles are 0-3 versus Corporation in the last 3 games. Ooh, that is a dicey. See, we like that stat on the air. That is a great trend. We might actually dub that. That's like a C stat, corporation stat. Siegel also wrote in Chinese which herbs and spices to get from the Chinese market. He did. That's exact. Yes, he did. Right? Remember, he was trying to eat the rice with the chopsticks, and he flipped it away when he was, wrapped up in the geisha, and then he turns around and he was talking about, when he was a little kid and blah blah blah. And by the way, Kelly LeBrock, all she had to do was take the notes with her. And then, of course, she comes back with the rose and the flowers, and here we go. Steven Seagal really woke up, if you know what I'm saying. And we'll just leave it at that. I'm about to leave the office in Center City. If you guys could see the looks on people's faces, can you screenshot that a little bit? We don't have a problem with that. You want to take some photos of that? Send it in. You can, tag us. We want to take a look. At least you finally admit you're on the corporate payroll. I'm not. I'm an honorary member. I'm not on the payroll. I don't see. That's the thing. I don't take bribes. You can't sway me either way. You can't. You can't. You can't. You can't sway me either way. Jeff chimes in. Q, how about my man Scattaboo? This dude is an absolute wrecking ball. He is. Monday Marcus chimes in. All right, Q, I'm going to give it to you. But the bottom line is the Giants have a better pass rush right now than the Eagles. Yes, I said that. Well, I'm not going to go that far just yet because, again, I think they only got the Hurts 2 times last night, right? They pressured him a little bit. Jackson Dart was sacked twice, and I think one was off that kind of jailbreak. But the Giants ran for 170 yards, and the Eagles ran for 73. And once again, Saquon Barkley, 12 touches. 12 touches. I mean, if you look at the start that Saquon had last year compared to this year, do you realize Saquon Barkley has not rushed for more than 100 yards in a game this season? He has not rushed for over 100 yards in a game this season. I mean, he was doing that like clockwork last year. It was a no-brainer. 100 here, a buck 47, a buck 76, a buck 08, a buck 69, a buck 46, 265. The offensive line has issues, and I told you guys this not going into last night, but you can throw against the Philadelphia Eagles. You can throw against this team. Their secondary is suspect. They really are. It was a great win by the Giants. And you turn around and special teams. I mean, you trade for Tank Bigsby. What the hell is he doing? Bobbling the kickoff. And then he took it out of the end zone. Sirianni was going nuts. He was going nuts. Like that's a poorly coached team. That's a veteran guy. That player's got to know that. He's got to know that going in. Look, I don't I'm not going to tell you it was more about the Eagles. I'm going to give the Giants their flowers. I'm going to. I'm going to give them their flowers. JD chimes in. Q, did you see when Dart high fived the ref? I'm absolutely loving this kid's vibes. Yeah, go ahead. That's fine. Right? Q, I'm hearing all these people on local radio sitting there saying, in reality, any intentional or physical contact with a referee is a 15-yard unsportsmanlike conduct. You know what? Shut up. I don't want to. You got your asses kicked last night. Right? I mean, let's just call it for what it is. The Giants absolutely dog walked the Philadelphia Eagles. They took them behind the friggin' woodshed. Eagles fans, I don't want to hear from you today. Like, honestly, shut up. You got nothing to say. You got nothing to say, period. You got dog walked last night. You didn't even show up. You gave no fight against a team that lost to a winless Saints team. You're going to sit there, you're going to bitch, whine, and complain? How about 4 straight tush push plays? You take the tush push away from Jalen Hurts. What do you got? I mean, just stop already. Take the loss. Move on. You're going to be a playoff team. You just got issues right now. You're probably pissed off because in reality, you realize you're going to have to deal with this team going forward for years to come. It's a young team. The Giants are the 3rd youngest team in the NFL. The Eagles are getting older. That's the reality. You hang around long enough, it becomes a 180. You have an opportunity to flip the script. Look, I get it. If I lost like that last night, with those games going on, hey, man, it's not fun. It's not. Mark and Wallingford, diehard Phillies fan, says, Q, I'm absolutely floored and stunned in the fashion in which they lost. You mentioned Lazinski back in the 70s. I was there for that game. It was unbelievable. I was a kid on the road. It was disheartening. I cried when I left. Mitch Williams, Joe Carter, that was bad. Ryan Howard, that was bad. Last night was absolutely unbelievably bad. That's a brutal way to lose a game. But I can't sit here and blame it on one play. That's all I'm saying. And guys like Aaron Judge sit up there. If they perform, or don't perform, the camera and the mic is going to be in their face. And they give you the classier response. A Manny Machado is a punk. San Diego loses again, and Manny Machado doesn't want to face the bullets. He doesn't want to face the music, Doesn't even want you to ask him, how do you encapsulate the season, right? Or what's your thoughts on the season? And, well, we just lost. I'll say this. I went back and I watched the post today. And Kirkering, that's, the kid took his bullets. I'm not getting this, mental state. You're a pro, man. You're paid millions of dollars. It was just a gaffe. It was a mistake. It was a boneheaded play, period. It was a boneheaded play. And the moment was just too big for the kid. And unfortunately, he's going to have to live with that the rest of his career. And you hate to see it, but if you follow sports and you've watched sports, you know, growing up as kids, we remember times when guys make mistakes. I'm not going to equate it to Buckner in a World Series that totally changed the tide of a World Series, or Durham in 84. But listen, you go back, Chris Webber in a timeout. You go back, downtown Freddie Brown, 1982, Georgetown and UNC. Gets the ball across the timeline, turns around, gives it right back to James Worthy. That was after the Jordan shot from the corner. Patrick Ewing, my guy, one of my all-time favorites, missing the bunny finger roll against the Pacers. Like, sometimes the moment's too big and you make a mistake. And unfortunately, boom, when we look at your name and, pull up the bio or the Wikipedia, there you go. It's going to be synonymous with that. It sucks. It really does. It sucks. But they didn't lose the game because of that. Or I should say they didn't lose the series because of that. They just didn't hit. Just like my Yankees. For some reason in September, they don't hit. And they're going to have a lot of question marks now going forward. Because they're paying guys a lot of money. So you can start to do the who stays, who goes, who do you keep? You wasted some great pitching. And I don't know if Wheeler, if he's healthy, if he's there, who knows? Who knows? But the stats don't lie in baseball. You got to get on base. You got to manufacture runs. You got to move runners across. You can't always rely on pitching. You have to back your pitching, period. And they just didn't. They just didn't. And that's baseball. So great regular season when you start to put it in perspective, right? With some of these numbers, Schwarber hits 56 home runs. Turner had 15. Castellanos had 17. Harper had what? 27, 28. Kepler had what? 16, 17. Feast or famine. Feast or famine. This team cracked 212 home runs during the regular season. Couldn't do anything in the postseason. They hit 3. They hit 3, and 2 of them were Schwarber. Harper didn't do anything. You got to start having a conversation about Harper. This guy's supposed to be a franchise-altering player. As soon as he leaves Washington, they win the World Series. Harper's great in the regular season. Comes up small in the postseason. Yeah, all right, fine. In one moment a couple years ago, got him in the World Series. But other than that, he's not a big game player. Turner, not a big game player. Romuto, not a big game player. I mean, that's baseball. That is baseball. You waste a great effort from your starter. Goes deep. Nick and Wyfer chimes in Q. I actually have a problem with Thompson walking Ohtani. So this is what my buddy texted me. And he brought up he's a diehard. I mean, he had it rough. He said the other night, great move last night, starting Nola and Suarez. Suarez, if starting, make only 5, won't get 4 innings out of the pen. Start Nola, he gives you a few innings. Suarez gave 5. Don't need much from him. On the Ohtani, not a bad move. Not like Wild Alvarado was on the mound. Duran usually around the plate, but the Dodgers can and will be patient. And you saw that last night. I argued Ohtani struggled so much. Why not pitch to him? Because he can't even put the ball in play. He can't. But it's all a moot point now, folks. It's just, there's really nothing more that needs to be said. I get a little excited when Wilson came in, thought I can get back into the game. Russell Wilson comes in for one friggin' play, has a Donovan McNabb worm burner, and then Dayball's in the tent, which that's a no-no, and he's probably going to get fined, advocating for Dart to come out. That's the other thing. There's a fine line. Like, you got to be careful there, right? You got to be careful because you're talking about the concussion protocol and you hop back up And yet you want them out on the field, right? You can't go in the tent. You just can't. And by the way, don't I don't want to hear this nonsense of some of these flags that were picked up, because how many friggin' times did the Eagles jump off sides last night, especially during the tush push? Just stop. Just stop already. I don't want to hear it today. Like, Eagles fans, you won the Super Bowl last year. You got all fat in the offseason. You got all arrogant and friggin' cocky, just like your friggin' fan base. And you got your bell rung last night to a bad football team that actually probably played one of their best games over the last 15 years on the national stage. Like, take the L, stop bitching and complaining, and move on. And move on. Worry about your team. Worry about your friggin' wide receiver. Worry about your quarterback, because they're not on the same page. Worry about your secondary. That's suspect. Okay? Take it somewhere else today. The ball for Bader swung at. That is not enough playoff experience. You're just too pumped up and when swinging no matter what. Not saying it changes the outcome, but two rumors changes the game plan. Got to have patience at the plate, man. Have to. Have to. You have to. And I think that's something that they've lacked at times. So, to your point, the other night when the Yankees get the bases loaded, what does Wells do? He friggin' swings at the first pitch. I mean, it's just it's nauseating at times. It really is. It's nauseating at times because you want to sit there and you want to be able to get guys on, right, in crucial spots and leaving guys on base and runners in scoring position. I mean, how many times have we seen that over the Phillies in the years? How many times have we seen that? How many times have they constantly have done that? Because they don't know how to move runners across. And it's like, come on. What are you getting paid for? What are you getting paid for? Making millions, hundreds of millions of dollars. And you can't move these guys across? I gave you the numbers the other day. They were sickening. When you start to break down, the Dodgers did nothing in this series. Their offense hit 199. If the Phillies just had a semblance of an offense in the clutch, they would have won this series. They would have won the series. Ryan chimes in Q, definitely game 6, NLCS 2010. That one I still can't get over. That was a bad loss. That was a bad loss. That game last night, you had two teams, heavyweight, right, shots, 3.5 hours. We're trading punches. Here we go. Glass now, Sanchez, 6 shutout innings apiece. You give up 3 hits. The Dodgers turn to Sasaki, right, pitches 3 perfect innings. And that might go down as one of the greatest performances in Dodger postseason history from a relief standpoint, right? And the Phillies go to Luzardo, who hasn't pitched in relief in 4 years. He gets 5 outs. So now you talk about the stars on these teams respectively, like Ohtani, Betts, Freeman, Hernandez. They were 3 of 18 with 7 strikeouts. Turner, Schwarber, Harper, 1 for 14 with 4 strikeouts. That's $73 million, 3 for 35. So I don't want to hear this nonsense about one kid having a gaffe at the end of the game when the offense didn't show up, when the offense did absolutely nothing when they needed the offense the most, and you were backed by pitching. That is the MO of the Philadelphia Phillies in this tenure with this core. They're not clutch. And you want to sit there and also say, hey, you had an opportunity, because I can second guess Roberts taking out Glass now after 6 innings because the Phillies immediately scored a run, and then Thompson was questioned for walking Ohtani, which I still don't agree with because Ohtani was 1 of 18 with 9 strikeouts in the series. So now let's face Mookie Betts, who drew the bases loaded walk to tie the game. And then you had the gaff. And there you go. Right? Kirkering. So it's baseball. It's a funny sport. It's a quirky sport. It is. It's a beautiful sport at times, no doubt, but it's a quirky sport. And last night, it backfired. It backfired. It almost backfired on Roberts. It definitely backfired on Thompson. It is a quirky sport, and it's a horrible, horrible, horrible way to lose a game, a series, and for your season to come to an end. But again, look at the bigger picture if you're a Phillies fan, the larger picture. Play the long game. This core does not get it done, and it will never get it done the way it's presently constructed. It just won't. All right, fast approaching 5 o'clock. A lot of comments coming in. Quick timeout. We'll come back on the other side. John Bueller is going to join us at 5 o'clock. We got a lot of NFL to talk as well. All right, 5 o'clock straight up on a Friday edition of On Q. Let me get to some of these comments. Russ chimes in. Q still doing better than defending re-signing Daniel Jones. Laugh out loud. All right. I mean, I'm not going to sit here and go into the whole Daniel Jones conversation. Good for Daniel Jones, right? Let me see. D chimes in. Oh, you're having a field day, aren't you today, Q? Yeah, you have to listen. Once in a while, you get a moment, and you have to just enjoy it because they're far and few. To be quite honest, they're far and few. So sometimes you do have to kind of enjoy the moment, especially when your team hasn't been good for a very long time. I mean, that's the problem, right? They just have been a bad football team. So there's really not a lot I can smile about when it comes to the Giants. But last night um, was a different story, and they played well. And you have to give them credit where credit is due. They are a team that I think is going to figure out a way to win some games. Um, I'm not going to sit here and tell you that they're going to light the world on fire, but they're a team that showed you a little bit, right? They showed you some heart last night, and they showed you some character, and that's what you're looking at. That's what you're looking at, right? That's what you're looking at. So I also think that they are a team that, um, when when you're void of playmakers, other guys have to step up. And the fact that the quarterback was able to lift these guys up and get, the tight end involved, get a wide receiver who's 6'4", that was just um, promoted from the practice squad. That was impressive, right? The kid Humphrey, he had 4 catches for 55 yards. Wandell Robinson, 6 catches for 84 yards. He had the 35-yard catch and run. Theo Johnson had a couple plays. Hyatt actually showed up and caught some passes with those New York sarcastic cheers. And they ran for 172. They don't have the weapons that the Eagles do. Saquon, Goddard, Brown, Smith, and they scored 17 points. So you see where I'm going with this? So you got a quarterback that's a rookie who's playing in his third game, third start, mind you. Okay. And the Eagles are a team that you want to sit there and say they're 4-2. They are what their record is. Could have lost to the Chiefs, could have lost to the Rams, and certainly could have lost to the Bucks. I mean, you are who you are. You are who your record says you are. But if 4-2, they can easily be a 3-3, 2-4 team. Then everyone's going to panic. The quarterback is not playing with confidence right now. I mean, that's evident. And the play calling is very vanilla. It's stale. It's not original. It's predictable, as some of the players have said. That's an indictment on who? The offensive coordinator. And that's got to get cleaned up. If they want to be a playoff team, if they want to get back to the Super Bowl, they want an opportunity to defend their Super Bowl win, then you got to clean it up. And right now, their quarterback's not playing good football. He's not. Yeah, you sit there and you gloss over and you say, well, 263 yards, that's a hell of a game, right? Yeah. But the one throw that he needed to make, he missed. I mean, that throw not only gives them the lead, gets them back in the game, and who knows how the Giants respond after that? Because in years past, the Giants don't respond. You can't allow a rookie quarterback like Jackson Dart to do what he did. Scatterboo rushes for 3 touchdowns last night. So as much as we want to, say it's more about the Eagles, the Giants did what they needed to do. They played a competitive game of football. They bounced back after a bad loss. I'm not going to suggest they're going to beat Denver or the Eagles in 2 weeks, but they've got winnable games. They can go on the road and beat Chicago. They can beat the Patriots. They can beat the Vikings with Carson Wentz. They can beat the Raiders. I mean, that's 6 wins right there with hope. That's 6 wins with hope. Now, the reason that I got a little worried and a little skittish is because the more competitive they play, the better they play. They win a couple games here and there. That only strengthens Brian Daboll's case at the end of the season to go to John Mara and say, bring me back. See what I can do with this quarterback. It strengthens his case. That's all. All right, 5:05, quick timeout. We'll come back on the other side. All right, welcome back, everyone. 5:05 on a Football Friday edition of On Cue. Rich Quinones here. Don't forget, we are powered by our good friends over at Three Brooks Bourbon. Fresh roasted coffee, 20% off your first purchase. Get ready with tea. And of course, Jersey Shore Breaks getting set for their second season in March. Got a lot of comments coming in. We welcome in our good friend from Fansided, John Bueller. Hopefully, maybe he had a little snifter of bourbon, got rid of that cold last weekend. He's 100%. He's off the injury report, and he's kind enough to join us for a couple moments. How are you, brother?
Feeling a lot better. Still, it's allergies, but we're doing better today for sure.
Probably doing a lot better than Philadelphia Phillies fans. Well, I should say Philadelphia sports fans, right?
Yeah, it was kind of funny. So I showed my fiance the picture or the clip of how the Phillies lost. She's like, "Are you kidding me?" I mean, I played enough baseball growing up. Like, you just throw that to first and live to fight another inning.
Yeah, I mean, listen, that's I've been talking about it, and we opened up the show talking about it. I just think the moment was just too big for the kid, and the mind was going one way, the body was doing something else. It was panic, and then you sit there and say, "Oh my God, now you really got to get rid of this baseball." But you're right. I mean, it's unacceptable, and he handled it afterwards. He took the shrapnel, and that's all you can ask for, right? But they lost the series because they couldn't hit, and and
Yeah.
and the guys that they're paying a lot of money just didn't come through in the clutch.
You mentioned that he's the guy taking the shrapnel here. He's the guy that's like, okay, why are we putting him on the mound in this situation? But you kind of wonder the guys who are getting paid a boatload of cash, like they would not take the shrapnel in the situation. I don't know. I feel like with the Phillies right now, we've gotten to the point where like it's over. This collection of players, it's not winning a World Series. They got to make some sort of shuffle here. I don't know who gets traded. I don't know who doesn't get re-signed. I don't know what shifts they got to do with the front office or the managerial staff. But like this can't continue. It's been progressively worse every year since 22.
Think about it. They bring in Trey Turner, and they're technically better on paper, but they're not better
Now,
with results. And again, I know people knee jerk reaction. Like with me with the Yankees, I know they don't hit in October, but I'm still over Boone. Like
yeah.
that's it. Like it's not going to work. But with the Phillies and Thompson, I mean, you listen to Kyle Schwarber talk afterwards. He sounds like a guy that's got one foot out the door.
Oh
I
yeah.
mean, would it behoove the Phillies to make a managerial change, or it's just that you can't always blame the manager. Players get paid to play.
Look, when you hire somebody in the interim, like you did with Thompson, like you're hoping like it has a run, kind of like what it's had or what Stidker was with the Braves there for a while. But eventually, you're kind of like, okay, we're kind of done with this dog and pony show here. You're right there with Schwarber, though. He is entering free agency. He's going to make a ton of money. It's the same sort of thing with Alonso with the Mets. He's like, yeah, I'm just out, and you could just kind of tell that the Phillies got to do something. Obviously, you've got guys like Turner and Harper under like massive deals, so they're part of this team going forward. Again, like the Dodgers kind of get in everybody's head here, but you had supposed home field advantage. You lost in 4 games in the NLDS, and you got one more win than the Braves and the Mets had this year, the postseason.
Yeah, that's right. Listen, I mean, I still think they're the favor, when we get into the NLCS, but uh, it's baseball, man,
Yeah.
and anything could happen, right? And you had two really good pitching performances last night. It's just unfortunately that the offenses didn't lift them up. I mean, I was still debating with a lot of people, right decision to walk Otani or not walk Otani because he was struggling. I talked about Betts and Freeman and Hernandez. It seemed like all the big boppers of both these teams, respectively, just did not produce in this series.
Now, some series are like that. Sometimes it all comes down to pitching and really handling those clutch situations. Obviously, Philadelphia didn't do that in the end. Didn't really take. I mean, they also kind of they had a game where they should have won, or they had some rally there with Castellanos and everything like that. And you can't have these self-inflicted plays happen and expect to advance in the postseason versus the preeminent team in the sport right now in Los Angeles.
Listen, they were up 3-0 and they blew
Yeah,
that game one lead, right? I mean, so it happens. And then add insult to injury. You get my Giants at
yeah.
home last night against the Eagles. Listen, I said this prior to you coming on. I think that win last night, such a complete win, with under the backdrop of Mara having to deal with cancer and Shane in the box and the crowd actually being into it and snapping that 10-game losing streak on Thursday Night Football, beating the Eagles, which they never do, winning a home game, which they never do, winning a divisional game, which they never do. I think that saved his job. Now they might win 4 to 5 games. You develop a young quarterback and a potential franchise quarterback. Then you can state your cases why you should come back. I'm not a Dave's fan, but I think last night, if they go on and win 3, 4 more games, and you start to see more of this growth and the teams start to come together, I think that just made his case to come back as head coach stronger.
I totally agree with that. If you win around 4 or 5 games, maybe you get 6 or 7. Again, if you beat Philadelphia, you've shown you can beat anybody, but you also lost to the Saints last week, which means you could lose to anybody. I
Right.
will say though, I watched that Saints game pretty closely, and then last night as well. Saints have a good staff. I don't know if they've got a lot of talent right now, but it seems like Kellen Moore and them is going to figure it out. And it seems with the Giants, the young core is starting to emerge. There's talent to be had out there. What everybody in the brother thinks JJ McCarthy is going to be, that's what Jackson Dart's been in like 3 starts. And I love seeing Cam Scatabo being able to run the football. I mean, he played for my fiance's alma mater, so we're big fans of Scatabo here in the ATL for sure.
Hey, listen, he's a nut job, and I love watching the kid
Yeah.
play. But see, that's what happens, right? You go 1 week, and they account for several turnovers. Then the following week, they account for 5 touchdowns. That's you got to live with the highs and the lows, especially when you're playing young players and a rookie quarterback. And the kid can scramble. He can make plays. He's not phased. He's already taken that leadership role over. When he came out of the game and Russell Wilson had to come in, oh my God. It's like, you're watching it and you're thinking to yourself, oh, this is just not good, right? Not good at all. But uh, obviously it worked out for the Giants. Defensively, they made some plays. They got some stops, which is always a good thing. And that's a nice win for them. Now, can they come back and beat Denver and the Eagles again? I don't know. But again, it shows you that there's buzz, and sometimes you need that. You have to have a little juice with some of these young players, and you have to give the fan base something to gravitate towards. And I think last night was a good start. Now, the flip side of that is you mentioned you watch the game closely, you take a step back. What's going on with the Philadelphia Eagles offense?
I think it's coaching attrition. I think losing Kellen Moore and Doug Nussmeier is really hurting them considerably. Just because, you had 2 really good coaches there, and you got to make a bunch of changes here. Again, it comes back to Sirianni being kind of more of a CEO type and everything like that. And he'll have staying power here. I don't think anybody wants to run him out of town or anything like that. Also, it kind of goes back to the notion of defense is year over year. I mean, there may be some teams like the Steelers or the Bears historically where it's just kind of in your blood, but you're putting a lot of pressure there on Vic Fangio and his side of the ball to kind of bail out the offense that can't really do much besides the tush push. And I think during the telecast, I think what Al Michaels or Kirk Herbstreit was saying, it's the Eagles had 3 people out.
Right.
It shouldn't be this precipitous of a drop off without having Jalen Carter play.
Well, yes, obviously that was a loss, but look, Jackson Dart was throwing the guys off the street.
Yeah.
And then Jalen Hurts has A.J. Brown, Devontae Smith, get Dallas Goedert, and Saquon Barkley.
Mm-hmm.
And the Giants put up 34. I'm trying to read the room with this one, and it's I feel as though did Jalen Hurts peak? Does Jalen Hurts, is he a quarterback where everything has to be perfect around him? I don't want to call it a front runner because I praised him and said he's an elite quarterback, top 5 after last year. But it seems as though if things are not clicking, he can't lift these guys up. And we always talk about, can you make your teammates around you better if need be, if lifting them up? And last night's a perfect example. I mean, the one ball, that's a home run ball, right? I mean, all you got to do is lay it out there for a wide receiver. That's 2 weeks in a row. Now we can debate A.J. Brown giving up on a route last weekend. But bottom line is he's missing a lot of these throws. And now you're starting to say, well, you invested a lot of money. Yeah, you got the Super Bowl and you got the Super Bowl win, but it is, what have you done for me lately in the NFL?
It's tough because he operates in a certain area of the sport where he's a really high end, trailer sort of quarterback. He's not a tractor. There's only about 4 of those guys in the league right now. Maybe if that, I would say Josh Allen can do that. Mahomes can kind of do that. Burrow and healthy can do that. And then maybe Lamar Jackson up to this year, where they can just kind of carry your team and just kind of win anyway. Hurts kind of in that same category where it's like, Stafford, Goff, Herbert, guys that we think pretty highly of. It's like they can do it, but then there's also, they have that kind of game in them where it's like, you're going to need the players around you to kind of bail them out. And you're not just going to win anyway based on who the quarterback is. So you did pay Hurts a lot of money. You needed to. You may have another Super Bowl or something in the cards here, but it was always going to be singular. They were not going to repeat. You could just kind of tell that like Philadelphia is a team that when it's going really well, things are fantastic, kind of very front runnery. And I know we use that as a society, kind of a negative connotation, but like we've seen some teams like that, like the Cam Newton Carolina Panthers, Cam
Sure.
Newton Auburn, like, but when it hits the fan,
Yep.
what do you do when you handle adversity? And I kind of
Yeah.
wonder. I hope that
Yeah.
Philadelphia finds like a second act here, but like they're kind of going through right now.
Yeah, I mean, listen, they're 4-2. They are still defending Super Bowl champs, but if they don't figure out the offense, lose a couple more games, then it's really going to be panic mode, especially knowing that Jaden Daniels is back with Washington.
Hmm.
And Washington had a really nice win, which kind of leads me into this. We're already in week 6 in the NFL season. I think there are teams right now, Arizona, they have to have a win. The
Yeah.
Chargers have dropped 2 straight against the Giants and Washington. They go on the road to Miami. They need a win. I'm kind of looking around. I'm saying, all right, which teams are really desperate? We throw panic mode, but how about the Chargers after that hot start coming back down to earth, and then obviously the debacle in that Arizona game last weekend? Give me a team or 2 or 3 that you believe they have to win this week, and they have an opportunity to turn their season around.
Well, the Giants were certainly that entering Thursday night, and I felt like again I was telling my fiance like they got to win this because you can't be 1-5 and then lose to your most hated rival. Like that just can't happen. I think the Chargers and the Cardinals are two really good picks by you. I think for the Chargers, it's got to be like, okay, are you tough? Are you a tough organization? You're supposedly bringing in all that was good under Jim Harbaugh and Jesse Minter from Michigan here, but it's like the Chiefs have kind of played with their food a little bit, have not has won as much. Denver's kind of been getting there. We know the Raiders are terrible, but it's like you got to take advantage of the Chiefs being down there in the AFC West, and I wonder like if the Chargers have it in them. I will say though, the Cardinals most definitely because like the rest of the division is not really losing. Again, I don't necessarily know if I buy into the 49ers really being a 4-1 team, but then again, we live in a world where Jacksonville and Indianapolis are 4-1 as well. So
Mhm.
what do we know? But I think with the way that the Cardinals lost to the Titans, like you can't let that snowball. You can't let Jonathan Gannon lose the locker room because you don't have a foxhole guy there with Kyler Murray. He's immensely talented. It's like what Jay Cutler was a little bit.
Right.
And look, everybody out there is playing hard and everything like that, but you can't lose ground. You've built this thing up to this point where it needs to come together. And I'm not sure it is. The other team is Baltimore. Baltimore's got to figure it out now, or else this is
I
going to
think
get.
they're done.
Yeah, I think they're pretty cooked. I just that did not look like the Baltimore Ravens going up against
It's
Houston.
it's it's
It was,
it's
it
their
was so
defense.
it was so
Their
sad.
defense is horrible.
Yeah, like, and then you're also, oh, what's John Harbaugh actually do? Like, he's just a special teams coach and a figurehead. Zach Orr is a former player. His career ends because of injury. You're pulling for him. And at this point, like, Todd Monken's just like, you know what? I'm going to leave. Like, what's the point of me sticking around here?
I it's crazy too because what did we miss? Because everyone had them as short odds to win
Yeah,
the Super Bowl. Like what did we how do you explain the fact that they're giving up 35, 35, 37, 44, 47? It is a bad team. Now you take away Lamar Jackson, he's out again. Rush is going to start. Derrick Henry kind of having the start that Saquon has. These guys haven't really got going yet. I think they're going to get absolutely hammered by the Rams.
they very well might. And you get Rush to come in here because you think like, oh, you got a high end backup here, and it just nothing is working for them. And
No,
maybe Lamar is deodorant in some capacity. Maybe we overlooked that. Maybe he was covering up a lot of stuff that we didn't recognize. But Baltimore having a bad defense is it's kind of unbelievable. That's like Texas Tech not having a good offense. It's like
right, exactly,
doesn't
exactly.
make any sense.
Yeah, and it shows you how important, crazy that we're talking about the backup quarterback position, which kind of leads me to this. Cincinnati finally makes a move. They pull the plug. They trade for Joe Flacco. I don't get it.
No.
If anything, why not trade for Sanders or Dylan Gabriel, young quarterback, understanding the history of Joe Burrow and his health issues. But you're bringing in Flacco, cement, right? Can't move around, bad offensive line. I, that line right now is 14 and a half, 15. It is a large line for an NFL game. I don't see Flacco coming in and lighting the world on fire. Yes, I get it. He beat the Packers earlier in the season. That's fine. But still, talk about the Ravens being cooked. And by the way, Flacco threw for a buck 42 in that game with a
Yeah.
pick, so kind of puts it in perspective. But I mean, this is it. This is your last stand for Cincinnati for this year.
I can't believe Pittsburgh is going to run away with this division. It's unbelievable. I don't. I
I,
can't believe that at all. But I saw something like Flacco, like, oh, he's going to Cincinnati, and they showed like a picture of him like flying coach from like previously, and everybody thought it was him flying coach to go play for the Bengals. I'm like, this is so on brand for them. But I think he'll provide some level of toughness there. But like offensive line's terrible. He's a statue. I thought Browning would play a lot better because he's been there for a while. It kind of it leads me to believe this is probably Zach Taylor's last year in Cincinnati.
but is it
I don't
is,
know.
is is it because of look? They went to a Super Bowl a couple years ago. Injuries are not a coach's fault unless you're sending the guy back out there or you're drawing up plays after he gets his bell rung, right? RPOs and I, it's just unfortunate that Burrow goes down. But I guess what you're saying at this point that someone's got to take the heat for it, and it's going to be the head coach.
Yeah, because you let good players go like Jesse Bates the third. You blamed it on Lou Anarumo when Al Golden went to Notre Dame. Now you bring Al Golden back. It's not any better. You basically have paid four people all of your salary cap, and you need a whole team of like 53 guys to win. And the Bengals just all the draft gems that Duke Tobin would find, they're just not producing like they probably should have. Like Shamar Stewart, what a waste! What a waste of time. Like you could have had literally anybody else.
Yeah, yeah. No, it's actually a pretty good point uh, that you bring up. Some interesting games this week and some ugly games on paper. I mean, uh, the Cowboys and the Panthers. Seattle and Jacksonville looks like an interesting game because
Mhm.
I thought Sam Darnold played well until the fluky pick late against Tampa Bay, and then Jacksonville had a signature win for that franchise. But it's almost like all for naught if you allow Seattle to come on the road and beat you.
I think whoever wins this game, like you can really get some momentum going forward. These are two teams that people were kind of sleeping on for various reasons. We're like, okay, what's Sam Darnold going to do in Seattle or with Jacksonville? Like, is it going to be more of the same, or are they going to take advantage of the division being down? I wasn't high on Jacksonville coming in just
Me
because
neither.
I'm like I don't trust Liam Cohen here, but I don't know. They've got players here, and but you're absolutely right though. If you lose to like Seattle after beating the Chiefs like this, it's not going to come back to bite you now, but it will come back to bite you later. Like this may cost you the opportunity to win the division. Maybe it goes Indianapolis's way.
Yeah.
Maybe the Texans find some momentum here. I don't know.
The Dogs have played well. The Giants were plus 330 on the money line to beat Philly. Jacksonville plus 165 on a money line to beat KC. And the Pats plus 325 to beat the Bills. Underdogs are 13-6 ATS in night games this season, which is the most profitable mark ATS through 6 games since 1990. And the overs have been hitting at an alarming rate. I mean, there's a lot of scoring going on in the NFL, which leads me to a game that I think is really interesting. San Francisco and Tampa Bay. Now, San Francisco, I think they ruled out again Purdy and Pearsall as well. They're going to stick with Mac Jones, and we know Tampa Bay can score. I mean, to me, this might be one of those wild, wacky kind of shootouts.
Yeah, I think whoever wins this game, you're looking at like, oh, they might be the most formidable challenger to like say Detroit in the NFC right now. I feel like you win this game, you're taking the spot that like Philadelphia is like abdicating at this point. And I will say though, Tampa, I kind of shorted them a little bit. I thought that the defense was going to pull back, but the offense looks just as good. Baker Mayfield's playing at an MVP level. I just kind of feel like this team is learning how to win games that other teams won't. And I think every rep that they're getting, where the Seattle game or the Atlanta game in week one, like just to win games that are weird like that, that'll work out for you. As far as San Francisco is concerned, like Mac Jones is playing well. I just don't buy into it. I think that the team is people are going to get hurt. This is just what happens with the 49ers. But like they're playing hot right now. I'll give them a lot of credit for that for sure.
Interesting, man says we find out about Mac Jones this weekend. San Francisco, they can move the football, and the Bucks have shown they give up a lot of big plays and they give up, yardage and points. I mean, they gave up 27 to the Jets, 31 to the Eagles. Obviously, the crazy game last night, 35. I like Mac Jones. I believe you still continue to ride the hot hand. Now, again, they're dealing with some injuries. They're going to have to run the football in this one. But Tampa, you get that game in the fourth quarter, and Tampa's got to come from behind. Then again, here's one of the issues. Baker will Baker. He will make that mistake here and there.
Yeah, he does have that in him though, but so will Mac Jones, and I just kind of feel like Purdy will do it too. I kind of feel that like I don't know, the guys really seem to rally around Baker quite a bit. So I, don't know, I feel like I feel like the vibes I've seen out of Tampa, obviously with my team being NFC South, I'm kind of like okay, what they're doing I think seems legit here. Whereas San Francisco, I need a little more time to see if this is legit though.
Man also says, sorry, driving home. Discuss Denver yet. Defense looks good. They don't have a Greenlaw back yet. So I will say this about Denver. That's a great win on the road, down 14 to the Eagles. Peyton with the brass ones, obviously going for two. Bo Nix, I mean, Denver's my Super Bowl pick, right? This is a game where if you really want to be taken serious, then you got to blow out the Jets. I mean,
Yeah,
there's really that's really it. There's nothing really more needs to be said. I mean, after this game, they got the Giants, which is a winnable game. The Cowboys, we don't know where the Texans are going to be. The Raiders are a winnable game. So they've kind of stockpiled a couple wins, 6-3, 6-4, 7-3 after 10. They set themselves up to make a nice little run to
oh yeah.
close out the season. But remember, too, they still have the Chiefs twice. They have the Commanders, the Packers, and Jacksonville. So believe it or not, I would say must win right now for Denver because you're seeing what's going on in Kansas City. You're seeing the Chargers slipping a little bit. So here's a good opportunity for Denver to get a little breathing room.
And that's kind of why I trust them a little bit more than the Chargers right now. I feel that I don't know it's kind of like hand in glove with Sean Payton and Bo Nix. This is an opportunity for Bo Nix and the team to get some confidence. Go out there, get a very a win with some pizzazz here because the Jets are going nowhere. And I always thought Nix was going to have a very high ceiling, a very high floor coming in. We'll see how high the ceiling is, but like if he's playing with confidence and the team's buying into him, you can get on a run here and you can play ahead of your skis. So I kind of feel like you're right though. This is kind of a must win, and you got to do it with style.
As a Falcons fan, the man wants to know, can you ask John if he remembers the Niners and Patrick Willis coming back in Atlanta down 17 to nothing?
Uh, that team, the 2012 team, that team probably could have won the Super Bowl. Went 13-3. Navarro Bowman had should have got away with a penalty there. But the team was very offensively minded. Defense kind of let us down there, and I don't know.
That was Mike Smith, right?
That was Mike Smith. That was kind of like the beginning of it for Mike Smith, and then he had those two really awful years in 13-14. And that's why these windows are so important. You got to take advantage of them, and yeah.
Hey, I still remember Giants made all those stops, those fourth down stops in 2011. Hakeem Nicks kind of split in that defense. I mean, they tormented Matt Ryan that day, man. What was it,
Yeah.
24-2?
Yeah, it was brutal. Like that was kind of at the point where like, is he ever going to figure it out? And then he kind of did eventually here, but I don't know. I don't know. The glory days for me and my fandom.
I still listen. I'm looking at this game right now, and I Buffalo's they're angry, man. They're ticked
Yeah,
off, and Josh Allen has not had the start to the season that I think we're accustomed to. I think your boys are in for a bad spot, man. I really do.
I will say though, you mentioned everything about primetime games and the dogs covering. Atlanta's kind of been sneaky good on Monday Night Football of late, and I kind of did like an emo hedge, like yeah, I'm gonna take the Bills to probably win by like 4 or something like that. But it'll kind of be like what it was when the Chiefs came to town. I don't know. I will say though, like Atlanta's 2 wins are over 3-2 teams in Washington and Minnesota. Although I think that those are kind of like there's I think the word trying to think of the word is like they're not as impressive as they should be. But
Yeah,
like if you win this game for Atlanta, then like all the momentum is on your side. You're like, why not us? But
right.
you're absolutely right though. Buffalo coming in here with a tough loss to uh, New England. Yeah, that's certainly. I was not happy to see that. I'm like, great, they're gonna come in here and just destroy us.
And we talked about some of these teams now, kind of their last gas, right? I mean, Miami, we know it's their last gas. Arizona, maybe their last gas. The Ravens, if they lose at 1-5, put a fork in them. They are beyond done. Cincinnati, pretty much beyond done. How about the Lions in Kansas City, right? Kansas City quietly, just not Kansas City like, and then the Lions just going about their business, scoring a lot of points. They're on the road. They're getting 2.5. I think Jared Goff should be in the running early on for MVP, NFL MVP, but I don't believe Kansas City's offense can hang with Detroit. And man, they go 2-4. Now I know they got the Raiders after that, but they got Washington, the Bills, the Broncos, the Colts. It can snowball pretty fast.
I think the big thing is when you're looking at anything with the playoff picture right now is like, can I get to 10 wins? Because 10-7 for the most part, like you're going to get the 7 seed or better for the with how a season's going to shake out. You got a 2-4, and you still got a bunch of tough games in division. Playing a first place schedule. You're running out of opportunities to put pellets on the wall here, and
Mhm.
these things turn pretty quickly. And not that it's going to really matter losing to like a juggernaut in the other conference, but like I said, 2-4 right now, like nobody would have thought that coming. I mean, you ask half of my colleagues at Fansided, all the people who love this some Chiefs, like, yeah, this team's going 16-1 and 15-2. I'm like, no, they're not. They're probably going to go about 13-4 and 12-5. Now, if you go 2-4, you got to win out basically, and that's if anybody can do it, it's the Chiefs. But it doesn't look like it's going to be the year for them to do that.
Let me ask you this in closing. With all the nonsense going on with UNC, and now there was thought about a buyout, and are they going to back Belichick? Um, it's getting pretty bad and really ugly down there. I mean, look, they got a couple wins, but they've been blown out. They haven't been competitive. They're talking about toxicity, the culture, the whole 9 yards. Do they ride it out with Belichick, or do you think they look for that out and bite the bullet, pay him his 20 million, and say, get the hell out of here?
That's tough to say because like you have a bye this week before you play Cal, so you'd have an opportunity to make a move here. But Belichick's being painted in a bad light. Michael Lombardi's being painted in an awful light, and I almost kind of feel like with this, like this. So like my colleague Cody Williams he's a big UNC guy. I asked him like, "What's going on?" He's like, "Well, I thought it was like Bubba Cunningham, the '80s, like forcing this to happen, but apparently this was forced in on him." I look at North Carolina like just completely directionless. Nobody wants to be there. People are like, opting for, red shirts, medical retirements. They don't want to do anything with this. And it just kind of goes to show that these are like two totally different sports. And you can't like come into one from the other thinking you know your stuff just because you dominate at one level. It's a challenging sort of thing here. I feel that North Carolina's kind of just got to clean house and just figure out like, let's get somebody in here to do this. I'll tell you what. I was telling my guy Cody, I'm like, I'd much rather see Arthur Smith coach his alma mater than Bill Belichick.
Well,
Yeah,
I think also too, do we start to now have the conversation when we look at legacy and people are starting to compare? Well, look at Andy Reid's track record, compare it to Belichick, right? And then Belichick and the Brady debate, the chicken or the egg. And you can't take away Super Bowl wins. You can't take away regular season wins, postseason wins. Like the accolades and awards are always going to be there. I don't believe this debacle, him going to college. I mean, look, he's very out of touch. He doesn't know how to cultivate contacts. He doesn't know how to handle kids. He doesn't listen. They don't fully grasp coming into this DNI on the transfer portal, so that you're already behind the eight ball. I'm not going to look at this and say it ruined his legacy,
no,
but it's just it's a bad way to go out, man. I kind of like I said, I equate this to Johnny Unitas just kind of limping around with the Chargers in '72. It's not fun to watch.
it's kind of the inverse of Urban Meyer going to Jacksonville. Like he was a phenomenal college coach, and he's what he did, at Florida, Ohio State, Utah, and Bowling Green. Like he's going to be an all timer with that, but he was just so out of touch there in the NFL. Or there's been other guys out there like what Bud Wilkinson coaching the then St. Louis Cardinals after his stellar career at Oklahoma. I think with Belichick, like he's always going to be seen as one of the greatest NFL head coaches of all time. But again, what we've seen now, like this kind of leads you to believe like is probably more Brady than him.
Man wants to take a couple more shots before you get out of here. Tell John I was devastated after the catch part two with T.O. The following week, Garrison Hurst broke his ankle in Atlanta. John Scene's young. He may not remember Neon Dion in 94 getting a pick in Atlanta and high-stepping them from his 40 down the sideline for 6. I mean, this is what happens when you come on the show. The listeners have no couth or etiquette. They will just fire the shrapnel off, even at my great guest.
Deion Sanders is my favorite player of all time, man. Like I know what we're talking about here. Garrison Hurst played at Georgia. If he could have just stayed healthy, honestly, I would have rather seen him win the Heisman Trophy over Gino Toretta back in '92. Also, probably should have been Marshall Faulk that year. So I kind of know my stuff, even though I was like a child at that point.
He had one of the all-time greatest overtime touchdowns in NFL history against the Jets, right down the sideline. I mean, that's his play, man. That was a great play.
Yeah, totally.
What do you got going on this weekend?
Ooh, a lot of stuff. 2 games of I'm covering. So Georgia Auburn for Deep South's oldest rivalry, and then I'm covering Heartland for Iowa Wisconsin. So I'm basically on the Georgia and Wisconsin beat now. So like trying to see if Georgia can make the playoffs and try to see if Wisconsin will do the right thing and get rid of Luke Fickell. They're not going to. It's an absolute disaster in Madison. Worst I've ever seen Badgers football. Then you got the Monday night game with Falcons Bills. We'll see what happens there. But yeah, look, shaped out to be a pretty good, fun and exciting weekend here. Can't wait to see who gets to play in the ALCS and the NLCS. So we'll find that out here pretty soon.
Yeah, it's a great weekend for sports. And like I said, it's a great weekend for sports if you're a New York fan. Not so good if you're a Philadelphia sports fan. John Bueller from Fanside, kind enough to join us. As always, give him a follow on social media. Does a great job with his pod and his content as well. All right, brother. You're the best, man. Have a wonderful weekend, and we'll talk next week.
All right, you do the same. Take care.
All right, there you have it. John's my guy, man. I mean, yeah, man chiming in with all these. Let me see. New York media, Jackson Dart, what happened to Jalen Hurts, Saquon Barkley. Jackson, one thought he was invincible, one thought he can fly. New York media, well, they were both wrong. Oh, man. What is that? Mark for death, right? Mark for death. Unbelievable. So that's funny. I think Q, John, and Costco should do a podcast. East Coast Bias would be amazing. All right, you know what? Get out of here with your nonsense because you're a friggin' 49ers fan and a Boston Red Sox fan. Utterly ridiculous. All right, we'll run through the games. We'll give you some picks. We'll close it out on a Friday. Quick timeout. All right, don't forget, we're powered by good friends over at Fresh Roasted Coffee, 20% off BYP20. New episode of BYP has dropped. All right, let's run through these games. Broncos and the Jets. That's a London kickoff, 9:30. The Jets are a bad football team. I unless Denver turns the ball over, Jets aren't winning this game. Already some talk about Aaron Glenn, believe it or not, 5 games in, losing the locker room here. This is a banged up team. I like Denver. I don't like only in a 6.5, but I like Denver to win this game. Arizona coming off a horrible loss. They are getting 6.5. Arizona was one of my dark horse playoff sleeper teams, but the Colts are a very good team at home. They are scoring points at an alarming rate. Daniel Jones not turning the ball over, keeping them upright. They can run the football. They can play a little defense, solid special teams. I think Indianapolis, again, high line, 6.5, but I like the Colts in this game. Chargers start off 3-0 like gangbusters. Lost to the Giants, lost to Washington. The Dolphins are 1-4. They are a bad football team. And you just wonder when Stephen Ross is going to jump in and make a move to fire McDaniel. Tua in his comments. The Dolphins stink. The Chargers right now, 6 weeks in, you got to save your season. As crazy as it sounds, you have to figure out a way. Stop the bleeding. Offensively, they have too many weapons to score 18 and 10 points, respectively, against the Giants and Washington. Give me the Chargers on the road. I think the Chargers wax Miami this week. New England and the Saints. New England quietly 3-2, playing nice football. They've got some young playmakers. They won two straight, 3 out of 4. They had the hiccup against the Steelers. The no-show to open up the season against the Raiders, and they have some winnable games. After the Saints, they have the Titans and the Browns, so they can be a 6-2 team. I do like New England in this one. I think it's going to be a low scoring game, even though um, it has one of the highest totals of the weekend. The Browns and the Steelers, I still think they stick with Gabriel no matter how poorly he plays in this one. Little surprised the Steelers are 3-1. Little surprised the Steelers are pretty much going to try to run away with the AFC North. Pittsburgh's laying 6.5. Again, a lot of high lines in this one, and a lot of it has to do with some of these inept offenses and who's quarterbacking, right? I do like the Steelers in this game as well, and I'll actually play the under. Dallas and the Panthers. I told you Dallas is going to absolutely whitewash the Jets. That's what they did. Dak Prescott quietly putting together a MVP-like campaign on the road. Panthers are 2-0. I think they hang around. Love it at 3. Don't love it at 3.5, but I'm a little ambitious. Give me Dallas laying the 3.5 on the road. Seattle and Jacksonville. Jacksonville, big win at home against Kansas City. Seattle had that horrific loss late against Tampa Bay. But I'm a believer in Sam Darnold, as you guys know, and I think this is going to be a high scoring game. I don't think Jacksonville is going to be able to match Seattle in this one. I do like Seattle on the road, laying 1.5. This game could get ugly. 1 o'clock, Baltimore, the Ravens. So I threw this question out to Lloyd before. Where did we get it wrong with Baltimore, right? I mean, think about it. Everyone had them as short odds to win the Super Bowl. They have a horrific defense, a horrible, historically bad. I gave Lloyd the numbers today, and he was like, "Are you kidding me?" During back your play, they're really bad. I think the Rams are going to light them up. I'm taking the Rams into 7.5. Baltimore's only speck of offense is going to have to go through Derrick Henry. No Lamar Jackson again this week, so Rush gets the nod. Titans and the Ravens, hard pass. Don't like this game at all. Cincinnati and the Packers. Packers laying 14.5. Flacco is going to be under center for Cincinnati. I don't like this game at all. Look but don't touch. 49ers and Tampa Bay. Fun game. 425 CBS. Hopefully Nance and Romo do this game. Fun game. 2 4-1 squads. I'm a Mac Jones believer. I'm a Baker Mayfield believer. I might just sit back and watch the high scoring in this one. I'm going to go with the 49ers on the road, though. I think they get a Baker Mayfield pick late. Give me the 49ers on the road with the points, getting plus 3.5. Lions and the Chiefs. The Lions have quietly just gone about their business. They lose to the Packers to start the season. And since then, their offense has been unreal. It's been unreal. 52 points, 38 points, 34 points, 37 points. Now you take on a Chiefs team that I believe you will be able to throw the football. Jared Goff quietly putting together a nice little quarter pole MVP campaign for the Lions. This game's in Kansas City. It's a tough spot. Kansas City is a desperate team. Kansas City needs this W. If Kansas City loses this game and they fall to 2-4, I think they're going to have a very hard time, at least even grabbing one of those wild card spots. I told you, I believe this team, they got broke in the Super Bowl against Philadelphia Eagles. I don't like their offense. I think they rely too much on Patrick Mahomes. Kelsey is older. You got to have some more weapons. Pacheco in the ground game, worthy kind of hit or miss. I don't like the Chiefs in this game. I love the Lions on the road in this game. Give me the points. And I think it's going to be a high scoring game too, but I think the Lions come out and they win this game outright. Bills and the Falcons. Bills are pissed off. That's a bad loss. They're getting 4.5. Josh Allen has not played like an MVP. If you look at Josh Allen this season and you look at his game log and splits, aside from the Baltimore game where they were down 15 and he lit the world on fire, throwing for almost 400 yards, the Jets did a good job keeping him in check. Miami did a good job. They kept him in check. New Orleans did a good job. They kept him in check. And New England did a great job. They kept him in check. I think that changes. I think Buffalo's pissed off. I think this is the breakout game for Josh Allen. This is a game where he goes 30 of 38, 288, 3 touchdowns. I think they go in and they take care of business. I don't even think this game is going to be close. I really don't. I like Buffalo in this game, and I think Buffalo's win this game by at least 10. And then you have the Bears and the Commanders. You recall last year, Hail Mary, Jaden Daniels, Washington against Chicago, the DBs waving to the crowd. Bears go this way. Washington rides that win all the way to the NFC Championship. They got Daniels back last week, played well on the road against the Chargers. The Bears are a very hit or miss type of team. Started 0-2. Now they're 2-2. Coming off the bye, short week, going on the road to Washington. Just give me the Commanders in this one, though. I mean, I got to stick with my Super Bowl predictions. And now Washington knows with the Eagles losing, they can go to 4-2 and be right there in the NFC East. All right, so those are the picks for week 6. As always, we are powered by our good friends over at Play It Again Sports in Deptford, 2 locations as well, Mount Laurel, fresh roasted coffee, 3 Brooks Bourbon. Get ready with tea. Going to start closing it out. We got to call hoops in about 5 hours. Man wants to know, where did de facto go back to the bunker? I mean, it's embarrassing. It really is. And I think I actually was very stand-up today. We had fun in the beginning of the show, and then I kind of laid off. I let it go. But the Bunker Boys, nowhere to be found. Corporation, always there when you need them because the corporation runs towards the fire, not away from it. The Bunker Boys go hiding. I'll say this, too. There's probably some Johnson rods, gavels, airplane mode cell phones being broken all over the place today. Whew, man. I mean, that's just ugliness, right? The Bunker Boys, they thought they were invincible. They really did. A couple of them thought they were invincible. A couple thought they can fly. Whoops. They were both wrong. All right. We're going to get out of here. We might do a quick version of On Cue on Saturday. Talk a little more about that Giants win and a couple other NFL thoughts. So we'll see if we have some time for that. If not, enjoy the college football. Enjoy NFL games this weekend. And you got the baseball still. Obviously, the Tigers and the Mariners, that's an 8:08 pitch. That series is not up at 2. Game 5, winner, win and go home. And how about this? Cubbies and the Brewers. That series has been absolutely crazy, right? It's like ridiculous scoring, back and forth, especially always in the first couple innings in that one. So appreciate John Bueller jumping on board. From Fansided. You goofballs. Don't forget, a new edition of Back Your Play has been dropped. You can get that on Amazon Music, Spotify, Buzzsprout, Apple Podcasts. Also, TVA Tropical Pets Ahora, airing on Channel 82 in Bermuda. Took a look at some boxing, some horse racing, and some World Cup qualifying lines. That'll air over the weekend. So you guys have a wonderful sports weekend. Have a fantastic Friday. As always, be safe, be sound. Appreciate you guys tuning in for another edition of On Cue. As always, I'm Rich Quinones. Hasta luego, buen día.